Hi there. I am wondering if we are going to have some more people beyond the authors.
Oh, I think we'll have a few.
Okay.
Layla, pronounce your name again, because I don't know if it's Layla.
Well, I say it Lila, but Layla is okay.
No, I want to pronounce it how you pronounce it. So it's Leela. Okay.
Lila. It's a little bit softer. You don't have the same sound in English. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
But do we have to tell our little things
You
that
do.
we introductions, or you will introduce us?
What do you guys prefer?
I honestly think it'll depend on the timing.
Okay.
If you want it to be quicker, then you go ahead and say it.
Okay. I have it. I just didn't want to sound like I'm rambling. So, and then I thought it would be good for you guys to have a voice as well, but I'm happy to do it either way, truly.
We'll just see how it goes.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if there is not a lot of people from outside, we can say, I don't know.
Hopefully she's not recording yet.
Doesn't look like it. I don't see the red button.
Okay. No, I
I
know, but
don't think so.
it's on YouTube too, so I don't know how that works, right? Like it says YouTube up in the left corner. So if not, we're starting with our bloopers.
Oh, okay.
All right.
It's just now 3 o'clock.
Are there only 4 of us here?
I think there might be 4 of us here in this room, but I don't know how many are on YouTube.
Okay.
And I would bet that people that aren't associated with the writing of the book might be joining by YouTube.
I'm just wondering because Mo and Maureen are doing 90 Ways of Community first, right?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Okay.
I don't think I printed the agenda. I need to do that. I may just pull it up on my phone.
She does say that we're all in the same room.
Okay.
Hmm. More people.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
So great. Great to see you.
Hello.
Good to see you all. Okay, so welcome to our publication celebration, everybody. It's been a month since our books have been in the world, and we're here to just take a moment and celebrate the good work that we did and kind of document this for us who can join us live. And then it's also streaming on YouTube, and I'm going to record it so we can have other people watch it asynchronously if they need to and experience the joy. Yeah, I've never done the live streaming before, but I think just like in the moment, whatever we were doing is also happening on the YouTube. So anybody who's following us on there, they can comment on the comment section, live or later, so it just holds any of those comments there. Otherwise, we're all in this Zoom space and we can communicate and use the chat and all of that. So nothing else is really different as far as that is concerned, as far as I understand. So I think I've let everybody in who is in the waiting room, and I think we can start. Okay, I think we're good. So welcome again to our publication celebration. Our plan tonight is to do a little bit of writing and talk about our two books, 90 Ways of Community and Words That Mend Together, and just have some moments to hear from the authors. And if anybody has had a chance to use any of the poems or activities in their classrooms, we'd love to hear how that went as well. And you can, again, put that into the YouTube comments or the chat that we're in live. So any of that is fine. So let us get started. Oh, Mo's joining us. We have some people. So I'll be kind of like letting people in as they join, monitoring the waiting room and all of that. So I'll be kind of doing some of the back channel stuff as we move forward. Okay, great. Okay, great. All right, good. So let's get started. I think we're going to begin with a little bit of writing, and Leela is going to get us ready for that. So I'm going to put that screen up to give us some ideas for our writing and turn it over to Leela.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lila Petrie, and I am happy to invite you to our quiet writing 10 minutes. We don't have too much time. That's why I'm not going over the prompts in detail. If you have your book, 90 Ways of Community, you're welcome to turn to pages 130 and 132. This is where our prompts are coming from. I would like you to choose one of the prompts to draft a poem. You may use a rhyme pattern of your choice, blank or free verse. You may completely ignore both of the prompts, or you may combine the prompts into one poem. The first poem is about feelings. So what do you feel right now? What are some of your recent feelings? And the second one, 20 questions. Any questions that come to your mind may create that poem. So let's write. If you finish writing, you are welcome to copy and paste your poem into the chat section, and then we may share some of those poems. Let's write.
Leila, do you think we should share a little bit? Do you want to facilitate that part?
Yes, why not? I can see beautiful words in our chat section, and I am trying to read some of those. Would anyone please like to read their poem or to tell us what you thought about when crafting it? Should I be like a teacher, gently asking for volunteers with names?
I'll share, Leila. I'm sitting and watching how the cypress trees somehow know it's time for fall, and yet it's still very hot here. And I turned to Melanie Crowder's poem Deep Inside on page 133 and kind of used it as a mentor text.
Mm-hmm.
Outside, the cypress needles turn to brown, drop to the ground. This tree knows days are shorter, slip away toward darkness. The air damp and warm covers me, leaves my body aching for, that's supposed to be for, not for cool water. Can you hear the cypress bending, loosening, letting go? How can I?
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I saw Anna ask, can we speak? You are welcome to speak, Anna, please.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. The poem I wrote, what a delight to see you all, to write together with those we can see. What a joy we've answered the call to share poems about who we can be. We can be selfish or generous friends, supporting each other even when we're feeling a little out of it. Because you've been here with us from the past, we're confident this camaraderie will last. Often the poem helps us to shift from sadness to gladness, from fright to light instead of flight, from prompts that challenge to our mind. Thanks for being so kind.
Thank you so much. You know what I'm realizing? How different my feelings and excitement are running right now when we actually see each other writing and then sharing the poems. Maybe one more person can share and we can wrap up with this part. Anyone? Yes, no, I saw a lot of excitement in Kim's poem. So, Kimberly, if you can talk us through yours in a few minutes or just read it. Maybe she
You're
can.
muted, Kim.
I forgot that part. I had to go to my bigger Word document. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
Start again here. How do we celebrate the excitement of our book? How do we scream and yell loud enough? How do we jump high enough, run in place fast enough, smile big enough, laugh loud enough? How do we let the joy out slowly enough without bursting wide open? How do we keep our feet on the ground? How do we remember our names and where we live? How do we keep our faces from hurting with these smiles too big to fit on our faces? How do we contain all the sugar plums that danced in our heads, now here on the pages of our book, our words, our joy, our being?
Thank you, Kimberly. And I am lingering on that. How do we contain all the sugar plums that danced in our heads? Just such a beautiful phrasing. Thank you so much. I think we can wrap up this section and maybe talk a little bit more about poetry and about the books with both of these publications. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Leela, for organizing a little bit of writing time for us today. And surface all that beautiful language coming in our chat, which has been so fun. So here we're going to take a little bit of time and talk about each book. And I'm going to sort of spotlight the authors of 90 Ways of Community first, and then we'll move into Words That Mend, and we'll just kind of share a little bit about the backstory and then some other questions that might come up for each of the books. So I'm going to, let's see, here we go.
Hello.
Okay, great. So does it look like it on your screen? Do you have like the three of us kind of spotlighted?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so Mo, I think Mo's gonna sort of facilitate a little conversation around 90 Ways of Community. So happy to have this book in our hands. Where should we begin? And also you can put questions in the chat if you want. Oh, look at everybody.
You're on mute, Mo. I can't hear you. I can't.
While Mo is fixing her mic, I just want to say that my teaching partner has used 90 Ways of Community a ton already, and she's super excited. She loves it. It's real simple. She can pull things up and use it right away in class, and kids are responding very well to it.
That is wonderful to hear. That's really great.
I'm so glad to hear that. Well, yes, while Mo's kind of doing that, and Mo, you can also put a question in the chat if you want to. But I'll just jump in with Maureen and ask you, what did you first think when we started proposing this book? Like, what were your first thoughts coming in? What got you involved with it?
That question is for me, right?
Yes.
Honestly, my first thought was, I have never taught elementary, middle, or high school. I'm a preschool teacher, but I love this idea. I knew it from so many kids that I've come across in the elementary school experience and middle school that we have. And I was like, we need to make this happen. And you had already, with all of us, had done that wonderful Excel spreadsheet of all of our prompts. And I thought, this is begging to be in a book. I just thought it was a great idea. It was just a gut instinct. I had no idea that only Mo and I would join you on this venture, but we had a grand time. The two Maureens and
Yes. Do you want to say a little bit about the opening segment of the book where you talk about the little boy?
yeah, that is a student. We changed his name to protect the innocent, but a student at I was a teacher mentor as well, and I was visiting a school just this past spring when it must have been late in the year when we were just laying out this idea for this book, and one of my colleagues teaching third graders was teaching a little one that I had that had what I called a prickly pear from my preschool days, and was still very much a third grade prickly pear. And the teacher confided in me that the thing that had helped this child center was the poetry unit. Of course, it was in April, and he's telling me this in June. And he said, as if he was writing our book, why did I not do poetry at the beginning of the school year? Because we had this long, challenging year with this child who felt all, out of place and set aside by his friends and his classmates and the other parents and the teachers, and one of those names that everyone knows in the school. And but anyway, he found his voice, and his poetry was up on the wall for this incredible evening educational event. And I said to Sarah and Mo, we've got this. This is exactly what we need to do. So that became our story. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say to that, when you told me this story, I was sure that we needed to start the book with that, because it was my feeling as well. When I didn't really ever write poetry that much, even as a teacher, until like my first full year of teaching junior high. And then all the teachers had this like April poetry writing thing, which I didn't even know National Poetry Month was in April, in my first year, which was 20 years ago. And the same thing, I saw all my students coming alive, and I saw that I was seeing them in a new way that I hadn't before. And I was a little upset that I didn't know about this, like that I didn't know it could be so wonderful, and I didn't know poetry could be like that. And I also was upset that no one ever asked me to write poetry in school. So I didn't grow up like loving poetry or understanding what it could do for me, or didn't have any time in the classroom. So I didn't know to bring that into my own classroom, and I was glad that I did in that, April month, but it was very clear to me that it needed to be something year round. So when I heard you tell that story, I was like, yes, this is how we need to begin. That's right. Cool. Mo, are you back? Are you ready?
I think I'm back.
Hey, we hear you. Yes.
I'm on my third or fourth device by this time, so now I'm on my phone. So thank you for your patience. I'm sorry. And I was thinking about what to talk about, and I'm glad Maureen brought up that fabulous spreadsheet, because that was so wonderful. And I too had the same feeling as Maureen, like, oh my gosh, it's just the three of us. How is this going to work? So that was eye-opening. But coming off the heels of the oral history project too, I had a little more confidence than I think I would have without doing that. What I thought was really interesting and fascinating is how we started with one idea in mind. And we were pretty sure this is what we're going to do, provide all these prompts. It was going to be everything every day. And it became quickly apparent that our book would be about 500 pages long if we decided to do that. So what I really loved about our small group is how adaptable we all were, and how we could bounce ideas off each other. And when I tell people, Maryland, Chicagoland, Oklahoma, and people are like, how did you do that? We just made those Zoom calls and made the most out of them. And I don't want to call Sarah a taskmaster, because she's not that, but she's definitely the glue that held the group together. And I know I'm speaking for Maureen as well, that we both appreciated that, and we both needed that, I think, too. I personally felt, okay, I'm not working, I'll have all this time. It didn't happen like that. And, between the three of us, family issues, traveling, life, everything else. So we were always busy. We were always doing something. But I love how adaptable all of us were, and that we could say, this just doesn't seem like it's working, or maybe we need to take it in a different direction. And sometimes there were times when Maureen would say something, or a sentence that she wrote just jumped out, and we're like, well, we have to take that and go with that, and it was wonderful to work with people who could just see that and appreciate each other's work. And the other thing that I've been thinking about a lot lately, we divided up the chapters. We each felt certain areas, kind of spoke to us a little bit more. And I don't know if I can tell you what those chapters were for me anymore.
I can't either. Yeah.
So I think that's pretty funny, but it speaks to all of our commitment to write, to rewrite, to work with each other. And it was sometimes I know I felt a little nervous about, oh, should I correct this person's writing or that? And, we started by asking every little thing, and then it got to the point like, okay, just do that. So.
Yeah. I think one of the reasons I love that we're from different teaching backgrounds in different places, especially with Maureen, said to me, I remember Maureen was saying how the trajectory of the school year is such where we could organize the book around the trajectory of the school year and of the relationships that we have with our students, and that they have with one another. And I thought that was a light bulb moment for me to think about having a way of organizing the prompts that would help us, the teachers get to know the students, for the students to get to know each other, for them to then start stretching out into their school community, into their families, and then into sort of a perspective, a global perspective or a world perspective. And then also time where there would be some sort of healing and emotional, like kind of returning back into the self. Because I thought, you know, we had so many great conversations about what teachers are experiencing while the students are experiencing it too. You know, like the energy that kind of sparks right before Christmas break. Some students are really excited about that. Some are having anxiety about being around family. Some students are going into a relaxation. Some students will not have food and shelter and electricity and Wi-Fi when they go home. And that when they come back from break, that there's a transition back to getting to know one another again in the winter. And that there might be some, you know, also some mixed feelings about coming back to school, and that thinking about ways that we can support teachers transitioning through that. But I thought when we looked at our selection of poems that we had in this poem tracker, and I think we have well over 500, if not near 1,000 different prompts from the last 5 years that everybody has created together, it was clear that we were all doing this in different ways. We had so many great prompts about inquiry into our world and celebrating diversity. We had so many prompts about self-healing and being kind to yourself. Like, it was just great to see that we could draw from so many wonderful prompts. And so I was just thrilled that we had that sort of trajectory to help us organize the prompts. Otherwise, it was too much to manage, I thought. What else should we talk about?
Well, I would just add, I had a little case of imposter feeling the entire time, except for like engaging with you both, because I felt like I was out of my orbit in a way, but it's really everybody's book. That's what I kept kind of soothing myself, you know, that we, this was a new experience to me, for me to write a book. And there's no evidence of what I wrote or what Sarah wrote or what Mo wrote, you know, and then all the prompts from our entire community. It's just a really heady feeling for me, you know, to see what we have done with each other. And hopefully now we'll share with students, you know, and teachers everywhere. So, yeah.
All right. Any questions or final words? Anyone else have questions for us? I should say, like, it was really cool to email people and say that we want permission to use your poem in the book. And there are a number of people who were like, oh, really? Okay. You know, like, I'm going to be published. And then to see people, like, you know, holding up their book, the books with their poem in there, and just that validation, I think, was another thing I didn't really think about until, like, once we started hearing people respond about the poems and the prompts.
I will tell you that my friend Tracy McCormick, who has written with us, she doesn't always write, but sporadically. She was an admin the last couple of years, and she just went back into the classroom, and she couldn't be happier. And she's teaching 8th grade ELA, and she was at a party at my house last night, and she said they have begun the school year by using one of the prompts every Friday. And she said just this last Friday they used the who am I, or where I'm from prompt rather. And she said she wished she videoed them. She said she never saw her students so engaged in writing as she did that day.
Wow.
That was really nice to hear.
That's wonderful.
It is a joy. It is a joy to see what a revelation it can be for teachers once they finally give it a try. You know, like, so many of us here have been using poetry. They do use poems. They are you know, it's been going on for a long time. But to move people onto the side of poetry, onto the side of writing poetry,
yes,
like, it should be this, we are making it a movement, that I think if we can just have teachers trusting students to have some time to write these poems, like what a change. Like we don't need those classroom management discipline things anymore if we can get them engaged in writing, right?
Exactly.
I love hearing that, Mo.
Like it.
Thank you both.
Should we transition to the other book, or anyone else want to say something? Okay, so I think this time Kim and Jennifer are going to sort of facilitate a little discussion about words that mend.
Okay, so we could not be more excited to share this work that we've created. It's always incredible to get to see the finished product of what you have worked so hard on, and opening that box of books, especially ones that are, your books, are so magical. Unfortunately, when mine arrived, they had sat in the rain, and of course, Amazon doesn't allow you to, or doesn't ring the doorbell. And so it was a wet, mucky mess of just cardboard that was kind of falling apart. I was like, oh no. Luckily, most of the books survived, so that was a good thing. Kim asked me to spend a little bit of time talking about the cover. The cover was created by Owen Jowett. He is a graphic artist. He designs his work with an Apple Pencil and illustrates on an iPad. And while he was speaking with Sarah, he was about the direction that she was thinking with the entire book and what the cover should look like. Her description reminded him of the artwork of Mary Blair, who was a extraordinary artist with Disney, and interestingly, was not really recognized that much at first. In fact, the men in the department were, getting most of the attention. And I can't remember who it was, another prominent figure there. His wife also worked at Disney, and recognized that she wasn't getting the recognition she should have either. And so he kind of promoted Mary Blair. She went on to do Bambi and some other things. But anyway, the whole vibe and the color saturation and the choice of colors kind of came from that. He chose things that were meant to be soothing, and the title is acting as a bridge. He hoped to create this as a journey that takes place much like healing, a crossing over. The book came together through the work of many writers, and we want to recognize and honor all of those people who have breathed through this work with us while we have mended in the process. So we're going to take a minute just to introduce everyone. I think it's important to note, I was just looking today, something popped up on my Instagram about, just plug your idea as a teacher, just plug your idea into this app and it will create a lesson plan for you, and you can have it done like 20 minutes before class starts. And I was like, wait a second, I would never walk into class and just go, okay, I'm going to wing this with this thing that was just created. Everything that is in these books, both of these books, is human created, and it is from an amazing group of women, and it's been tried in the classrooms and comes from our hearts and is just beautiful that way. So I'll go ahead and start, and then I'll just turn it over to Kim, and then we can just go around from there. We had put together something because we're spread apart all over the country and knew we wouldn't be able to be in person to present what we might say if we were here to tell you. Now we're all here in this space. So if you could share what writing and poetry does for you, that would be great. So I would say, I'm Jennifer Geyer Jowett, and I would tell you that poetry sparks voice for writers, allowing them to discover other kindred souls. It sings and soars, taking writers from isolation into community. Kim.
And I'm Kim Johnson. And if I would say about myself, let me see where mine is. I wrote these ahead of time. I would tell you that poetry is a portal to a magical world of knowing others, of feeling seen and heard, and of knowing what to do with the snags of life. Because if you can take the hand of a poet in dark times, they'll light a candle to show a way forward. And let's see, Denise.
Hi, I'm Denise Krebs, and I'm in California. And I would like to say that that you don't want to wait until you're old like I did to write in a community with other adults. That you deserve the healing and the mending that will happen in a group of writers. So I want to encourage you to write with students, but don't use it just as a teaching tool, but jump in yourself and be in a community.
Barb.
Hi, I'm Barb Edler. I live in Southeast Iowa, and I would say never underestimate the power of a poem. Write with students and you'll see their worlds transform. Thank you.
Margaret Simon.
I first want to say I'm such an honor to be here. It's kind of touching me for us to be together here. And I'm Margaret Simon. I live in South Louisiana, where it's still very, very hot. And I would say that poetry in a classroom blends pleasing use of language. They just please me every day with free expression of emotions. And it's really just magic.
And Leila.
Okay, and I'm Lila Petrie. I'm from Louisiana, close by to Margaret. It's still very hot outside. I would tell you that I love a good story, and our lives are full of those stories, sad ones and happy ones and joyful ones. And if you choose the right words and add a bit of heart to it, you will get a poem, and you can share it with the others. And bring some peace to your soul.
And Sarah Donovan.
Well, I think yes, I'm Sarah, and I think for me, it is having a witness. You know, it is that someone will read my words and knows a glimpse of me in that poem, a fragment, a piece of me. And I think over time, to echo what Denise was saying, is that the collection of poems together can reflect very important aspects of my life that maybe someone who doesn't even live with me or someone who doesn't teach with me may not know, because it's sort of captured in the moment of the poem, in the lines of the poem, and the white space of the poem, and things that I wouldn't say out loud, but I am somehow able to write.
And we also have some other authors of the book who are not here today with us. We have Wendy Everard from New York. And then we also have Tamara Belko, who would say that writing poetry in the classroom lets young voices sing and brings the classroom to life. And we also have Susan Albrand, who says, if she were here, she'd tell you that sharing poetry in the sacred spaces of open rights and verse love saved her life. And she knows doing a similar framework with her students has saved a few of them too. So that those are all of the authors who have just had a bit of an author spotlight. And as Jennifer and I were talking last night about today, many of the things that were shared by Mo and Maureen and Sarah were the same things that we had noted. The roots of this particular book, I think, are they live in Bridge the Distance, which is let's see if I can pull a copy of the book. This book that we did together a while back. And so we knew that, you know, coming together, there was power in the diversity of voice. There are those books that we set out to write, and then there are books that beg to be written. And I think the books that we've written together are books that have begged to be written. And as we realized that there was so much to be said and so much to be shared, we came together and did those. Similarly, using the spreadsheet to code and to figure out that there was so much healing power in poetry. And so as we looked through our chapters, we realized that, you know, when we hit those snacks of life and we're not sure what to do, someone in this group has been there before, and someone will write about it, someone will share about it, someone will take our hand and help us through those dark chapters. And so our book, while we've got one that is 90 Ways of Community, this one is extremely powerful for all of those prompts. And for teachers who are looking, to walk into a classroom tomorrow and give amazing prompts. This is one of those books that I've poured over the pages of this, and I've probably read it 3 times cover to cover and love it so much. And this one is more about the teacher bio and the stories of the poetry and how they can save and how they're magical. So those were the things that we wanted to share about Words That Mend. Both books are for everyone, and they were written by all of us, and so we're so happy to share those.
I would just add that, both of the books are really bringing the stories, all of our stories and all of our experiences to life. And the mending that happens with the healing that happens within the writing community is so incredibly impactful. I mean, even just today, not only was our prompt guided by healing that would have had to have occurred in order for the prompt to be written, but also then all of the healing in the writing that came forward, right? We were sharing things that had happened. A lot of us were, and then people were responding to that. And it just makes it, I don't know, a very calming and nurturing place to be. Sarah, did you want to add anything?
I have a few. I would like to hear some behind the scenes questions, behind the scenes stuff for you all. So does anyone want to share out what it was like for you to put that story into the book, knowing it would be public? So quite a few of the accounts, I think the teacher story and some of the student stories come from, a place where we have to really trust ourselves and trust our writing to make sure we convey the story in a way that's healing for the reader as well. But also and many of us were putting some personal things about our family or our own mental well-being, in some of those stories, and also sharing some tender moments with our family members, especially family members who were ill, who were sick or suffering in some way. So I don't know if anyone wants to share a little bit about what it was like for you making the decision to share that. And then I know we have some other of our community members here who agreed to let us publish their story or their poem. So Stacy and Anna had their poems published, and we had to say to you, okay, we're going to put it in a book that's going to be, public now. Like, how do you make that decision to say, yes, this, I'm okay with it? So if anyone wants to kind of say something about that, that would be great.
I'm not sure if Anna wanted to speak, but I'll definitely say that, like you said earlier, it's such a great feeling when someone asks to use your work in a book that's as important as this, as all of the books. It's an honor, and it's also very liberating once you put words on a page and then release it. I've always felt like if I have anything that's heavy on my heart or anything that's a little bit difficult for me to process, once I've written it and put it out there, it's almost like my heart opens up more and I have that free space to just find the joy. So thank you.
Stacy, thank you for sharing that. And I can agree. I didn't know that, so I'm going to answer Sarah's question first, but you reminded me of something else too. But when Sarah was editing and reading our work, she just asked me a question about what would your family think about this? It was just like a note on Drive. She just was wondering how it would be different to read it if it was someone in my family. And it challenged me just thinking of that, like wondering and not knowing that. Then I sent my chapter to my siblings and my own kids before I published it. And I would have taken anything they said, any problems they had with it, or because I was young and my siblings were older, some of them. So I wanted to hear what they said. And that was really healing too for me, that just to have them be part of it with me was a good thing. Yeah, but I can see that Stacy, when you let go of something like that, and I think it makes not only our hearts bigger, but our shoulders broader. Like I find that sharing things helps. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. And I just want to hug you right now. I wish we could sit closer together. In building up on your response, I think that healing occurred in stages for us as a part of the writing. The first time when we responded to a prompt, I already knew, I know I was writing about the loss of my mom and building a house in the sky burning a house in the sky for her. So at that moment, I was already vulnerable, right? But I remembered that I was in the community that accepted me, embraced me, welcomed, and were always kind, supportive, and encouraging. And that first wave of encouragement helped me to get through writing the poem about mom. Then we were working on the chapter, and I decided this is the one I am going to write. It was another wave of grieving for me and another wave of healing, because I came back and I thought about my writing process, what I included, what I didn't include. It sent me back to some memories. It made me to relive this experience one more time. And again, I trusted that I am writing with the community of the people who already accepted and embraced me. So it was easier. I also want to comment on Sarah's careful guiding, because as academics, we write a lot, and sometimes the response is so harsh that no matter how touchy and sensitive the topic is, you get beaten up. And but this time it was gentle. It was with the questions. It was with the comments. It was just guiding us and helping us to frame our story the best possible way. So it wasn't stressful for me at all in these terms. Yes, I felt vulnerable. I've never written any personal encounter of this kind to be published and to be sent out in the world just like that. But you learn to trust first people around you and then to the bigger world. Thank you, everyone. It was my pleasure.
Thank you, Leila. I just want to add too that Stacy said that when you let go, it makes your hearts bigger. And then Denise said it makes your shoulders broader. And it reminded me that the space that comes from letting go opens up within us for our own well-being and love. And I want to give hugs to people. I feel like the poems that we write and then the responses that we give to each other are like those hugs.
I posted in.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I posted in the chat, but I'll go ahead and say it out loud. It's been surprising pleasure to hear from my family who has read some of the poems that I've written about family experiences. And one of the places that I saw the power of this is one sister began to pattern this way of dealing with stress. And she read a poem that she wrote at the funeral of her son. And I don't think she would have done this if she had not seen how freeing it had been for me to write the poems about various family experiences. And this is what encourages me to support those of us who are using it in the classroom. If writing poetry is doing this for us, can you imagine how helpful, how healing, how community building it can be for our students? And so I often say it to her privately, but I'll say it publicly. Sarah, the fact that you not only started this, but maintained this for so many years, and then encouraged us to publish together and making it available at no charge. That's a generosity of heart that we appreciate. So clap, 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 clap for Sarah and the community that she is nourishing among us. There you go.
Thank you so much, Anna. We have a little bit more time, and I just want to see if anyone else feels like you want to share about the story. And I don't want to force you to, but a couple people wrote different chapters, and you haven't really shared out yet. If you don't want to, you don't have to, but I just want to make sure you know you have some space to do that if you want to.
Well, I would say that in reflection of publishing this book, I sometimes feel like a little awkward, like, oh, I'm ready for somebody to say something to me in my family, but I don't think anybody has read it yet. So I'm safe so far. But also how to phrase things. So, like when I talked about the poetry slam without sounding too bitter about some things that happened, and try to say it in a, you know, politically correct way. So that was kind of a challenge, but I concur, Sarah. Thank you for everything you've done to make that possible. I think both books are beautifully printed and are just so easy to pick up and use. And I hope they take off and people will find them very helpful in the classroom.
I'll share just a quick story that happened to me yesterday. I was talking with a woman who is being she may be hired as a counselor at a school, and she's trying to decide if she wants to be a counselor at a school. And I handed her our book because I'm like, if you're going to be a counselor in school, this is what you need. And it feels so powerful to me to have that, to be able to hand to people. Just to I mean, you know what, I think about when I think about the life of publishing and trying to get published, and oh, it's so hard. It's very hard. And, because I'm trying to be a children's book author, and all of the query letters and all of that stuff. And then, it's really kind of like all about you. This is not at all about me. And that's something that I love about it. I love that we can all be together and we can all share, like you said, freely. We just can hand them a book and know that this book is going to be of good use. I just love that.
I'm just doing that wait time thing. That's all.
I'll share one more thing. I was just thinking about a book that says your body keeps the score. And I was thinking about all of us as writers and how our journals and our poems kind of keep the score of our successes, our failures, our wins, our losses, our healing, our pain. So I'm hoping that through all of this, the books will kind of look like a way of keeping our score of our wins, because this is a big win. I feel like it's a big win for us, as well as all of the teachers and writers who pick up the books. So I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Stacy. I feel like that's another thing, another benefit, an affordance of this process is the win of making something together, the joy that comes from knowing that we're doing something from a place of generosity and healing, and doing it again, for the teachers that we love and the students that we love that we're responsible for. Their hearts and their minds and their writing lives and their beliefs about who they are as writers. Like we shape that every day with what we do and what we don't do, what's absent and what's present. And I think what I love about the pages of these books is that it has all of that. It has our voices in there. It has the voices of other poems and poets that inspired us. So we're citing the sources that we are drawing from and offering a new source to put out into the world, and then encouraging students to write something yet again that hopefully they share with a peer and inspires them. And I think the Words That Men book also has ways that we talk to each other. And I think what I love about those chapters is, you know, sharing a poem and then seeing what Stacy said to my poem and what Denise said to my poem and Susie said, and how we talk to each other as teachers and adults and as women. And there are men in there too. There are men who have their books, we have their poems and their stories and their prompts all across gender. But I think how we talk to each other in those pages and how we talk to students is also a really important piece to that, because there is such compassion in echoing and mirroring what we hear and what we see in one another. So I appreciate all of that too. And it's an artifact now. It has an ISBN and everything that exists in the world of this time that we've had together. If nothing else, there's a record of it to acknowledge that. Okay, well, if there's anything else you would like to say, you can speak now. And then I also would want to just share a few calls to action for anyone who might be watching the video here.
I would
Okay,
love to
so
share a poem by Mo. This one really speaks to me, and I think everything I'm hearing today. I love this poem on page 157 of 90 Ways of Community. And if Mo would like to read it, I would love to hear her read it. Otherwise, I will read it. But she told me many months later. Mo, would you like to read it, or you want me to read it? Because I really love this.
I love it too. I haven't thought about this poem in a long time. I would actually love to hear you read it in your beautiful accent.
Okay, this one, when we're talking about the support we feel, when we're talking about what we take, and all of these ways of being and building community, on page 157, Mo Daly writes, "She told me many months later how she knew I was her friend. She could trace it back to one moment in time. I was dumbfounded. What could she possibly mean? She spoke of her weariness when her mother-in-law died, the countless hours on her feet at the wake, the need to be the face of the family at such a trying time. She told me how happy she was to see me at the funeral home. She appreciated the condolence call from a coworker, but then she said, 'You took your coat off.' In that moment, I knew you were there for me as a friend. An inconsequential act on my part meant the world to her in her hour of need. I had no idea at the time. Now, whenever I can, I tell people to take their coats off." And so I feel like that's what we do when we come into this space, is we take our coats off and we're there for each other. And what better way of being, what better way of community can there be than that?
Oh, that's so lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
all right, I'm so glad that we're ending on that. That's beautiful. Perfect. Okay, well, a few calls to action for anybody who is joining us and for all of us. So we have a couple more days of our September open rate. We come together the third Saturday of every month, except for, I think, December and May. And we write together, so you can go to ethicalela.com. In October, we have the open rate from the 19th to the 23rd. We have Verse Love in April. If you are using any of these materials in your classroom and you want to write about it and tell us about it, we invite you to write a blog post for Ethical ELA, and that would be one way of publishing that. And if you are reading these either digitally or in paperback, you can write a review on Goodreads or Amazon. And what that does is it just like puts us in some sort of a thing called an algorithm, and it like pushes out the book to introduce other people to it once we can get to over 50 reviews. So you don't have to buy the book to do a review. It's free on ethicalela.com/store. So you can just buy it for free, read it for free, and then you could write a review for us. That would be great. And then if you're going to go to NCTE or any other affiliate organizations, you might be able to find one of us there, and please come by and say hello. So I want to thank everybody for being with us tonight. It's been such a joy to see you all and to celebrate these books that we've made together, and with so many others who couldn't be here tonight but might be watching. So thank you, all of you. And we will send you all back to your Sunday time with families, and hopefully, as Stacy said, no work on Sundays. No work on Sundays.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye,
Sarah.
everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
I'm not sure how to end the live thing, so I just have to turn it off, I think.
I thought